Hey guys, we've got another weekly form preview for you. This week we're going to just pay attention on a few things, and I want to spend some time on inchworm. I'm wearing two separate shoes on purpose because I want to show you effect on the inchworm. But inchworm is one of our main staples of sight visit. It's probably the most well-known exercise that we have. And really, we didn't come up with the name inchworm for an exercise. There's actually something called an inchworm that's like a body weight only stretching pike exercise. So in the beginning, many times when we'll tell someone, hey, you're going to do an inchworm now, sometimes they'll wrongfully assume that they know what the inchworm is. It's similar, but we're actually dragging a 25, 35, or 45 pound weight with our feet. So the way that we do this, and we explain this on day one, you will do this on day one because we want you to get a feel for some of the exercises that we do dragging the plate. You put your toes on the inside of the plate. You're going to crawl out, bring your knees to your chest, just like that. Crawl out, bring your knees to your chest. A couple things you want to look out for. Make sure you're not sagging when you're pulling the weight like that. Make sure that you're also fully extending, so you're fully getting those hips fully extended. Don't cut it too short, like this. This would be cutting it short. Okay, you don't want to do that. But the two things that we always say as pros, the first time we explain what an inchworm is to you, there's two rules with it. No going to your knees and no pouncing out with your hands. Okay, so the reason why we say don't go to your knees or no resting on your knees during an inchworm is because of this. If someone gets like the acceptance to go to their knees, inevitably it'll look like this. Pull the weight up and do this. Pull the weight up and do this. By doing that, what that allows them to do is totally take their core out of the equation. They're not using their obliques, they're not using their abs, they're not using their hip flexors, they're not using their upper body to stabilize themselves. They're essentially just dragging the plate, like scooting along the ground. So we don't want them to do that. So we're going to say, we always say, if you're resting, okay, let's say I'm coming at you and I'm tired, I need to rest. You rest like this in the crouched position, or you go ahead and stand up, which I can cut off, but just stand up and then resume. Okay? So never go to your knees on an inchworm. That's true of a single leg inchworm, that's true of a reverse inchworm. There's other ones that I can think of. Like I never try to rest on my knees on like reverse plate push, jackass, MFT, that kind of stuff. I feel like it's all kind of the same thing, so I just try not to go to my knees on those. There's probably some other ones in there too. The other thing is pouncing. People, when they first start off, they kind of, I don't know what it is, but they kind of feel like they want to yank the plate forward by doing that. Like maybe it's possible that they're trying to initiate the movement first. And we just don't want you slamming on your hands, wrists, and elbows. So don't do that. Make sure that you're crawling out and pulling with it. So if it's your first time doing an inchworm and you're trying to like figure it out, we'll see a lot of people go, like they have a very tough time, like kind of like really getting the plate started. What I suggest is, beyond shoes, and I'll get to that in a second, is to have the momentum of your crawl. Start your crawl fast, have the momentum of your crawl transition directly into your pull with your abs and obliques. So a lot of people, when they first come to it, because the way I usually demonstrate it to them, they will come to here, they will pause for a while, and they're like, how am I not able to get it up? Well, first off, it's the first time they're doing this movement. They're not sure which muscles are actually probably supposed to pull the weight. And because I paused in the demonstration to accentuate how flat I was in the plank position, they probably paused then too. So then what I say is, when you get into the, just about to get into the plank position, pull. So crawl, pull. Crawl, pull. All right, I'm going to do it again in a second, or right now a little bit differently. Not differently, but this is how I do it, okay? I crawl, but I speed my hands up in order to really pull the plate quickly. So, and I pull really hard. I pull my knees to my chest, and my knees don't go like this way. I pull upward. I pull upward on the plate so it's a little bit lighter on the plate. And if you have the flexibility for it, you can get those feet right up underneath you. That's why your V-steps hop out a lot too. Now shoes. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff too with inchworm. Inchworm is one of those things where you can give a lot of different tips to people. I've heard people saying like try to yank the plate forward, try to, there's a lot that you can get into. So shoes are the most important thing though, I think, other than doing the right form. This is a turf court tennis shoe. It's the one that I always recommend. It is a K-Swiss Hyper Court. This is just a running shoe that I use for pretty much just running. Most people will come into a site this using a running shoe. There is no padding, nothing on the top to help with anything like an inchworm. Now, if you're fairly new at cycle training, you wouldn't know this, but there are a ton of exercises similar to this, and sometimes dragging with only one foot. So I'm not sure if you can see the difference, but when I pull the plate with this running shoe, it doesn't pull it very well. And if I were to do a couple more, first off, it's hurting the top of my toe already, but it'd probably yank off that rubber. Where this is all rubber coated, a lot of stability laterally and all the way throughout. If I'm pulling it through like that, it's really stiff. And to be honest, what I'm doing right now is I'm curling my toes back in up underneath, just because I was trying to show like how much give or not give these soles have. So that is inchworm. You'll learn it day one and you'll be doing it until day however long you're doing it. So stay off the knees, and that's inchworm. Next task is called Trifecta. Trifecta is actually a task that I've kind of pushed aside or pushed away for a while and really avoided doing it because I wasn't sure if people were able to lift this amount of weight over their head with the proper form and the right range of motion. Truthfully, it's really hard for most people to actually get the right angle and the right range of motion on it, especially if you're using the 45. So for a while, I was kind of against it, but we've been doing it for years, and it seems like people are able to do it. Trifecta is called Trifecta because it hits your triceps. It has nothing to do with the reps that we do. It's just called Trifecta because that's what I called it for recollection of triceps. So you're holding it like this. You'll put it over your head, and your elbows should be pointing toward the sky, and get it back as far back as you can that your lats and shoulders will allow you to. Let me get back in position here. So you're here, and you're going to lift up. Okay, now you'll be walking while you're doing this. I'm going to walk towards you. I don't know if I'm in frame, but it's like 1, 2, and you'll do 6 of them, and I think I may be out. But so what I'm doing is I'm holding the plate like this. You want your back of your arms as straight up as you can. A lot of people will be here or in front of their bodies, and they'll just be kind of like this. You want to get back, if you can, straight up. Okay, make sure it's not like a halo where you're just doing the press. You're trying to get 3, and I like to kind of not flip the plate, but I hold it stiff, so that way the numbers are facing away from me, so behind me, and then they're facing almost kind of facing you when I come forward. Let's see if that's right. That may be the opposite of that. No, it's the opposite of that. So if I'm on my knees, it's away from you. Now it's at you, if you can see it. Away from you, at you. Because that way I know to go full range of motion. But in order to do that one spot on, you really have to have a certain amount of care and not rush through it. So if you're someone who's not sure about using that much weight, I would say try skulls as a good modification. And you're still going to hit the same area. That's Trifecta. Vixen. Rarely do Vixen. We rarely do Vixen. It is a cross-legged, like stationary cross-legged twisted bear crawl. So just like you're twisted where your legs are crossed, I'm kind of exaggerating how crossed they are for demonstrating purposes. You're going to be like this, you're going to crawl. Okay, it's like that. On the way back to the other end zone, switch the cross. Okay. Just like that. So it's kind of got the Montauk feel. It's kind of got the twisted push feel, and it's Vixen. Just make sure the hands are crawling, or like this, bare hands, and they're not pouncing. The legs don't have to be like touching or anything like that. There's probably going to be a little bit of separation between the two. in terms of when they land and take off. But that's Vixen, see how it is. All right, the last one for this week is called Rooster. It's just like your flamingo, your stork, those kind of exercises where you're balancing on one leg in the end zone, but you're doing one of our stationary upper body tasks. And this one is going to be chicken. So we called it Rooster because it kind of, I mean, I don't know anything about chickens and roosters and farm animals, but they're kind of the same thing in my head. And so you're doing pretty much the same exercise in a stationary position. You're going to pull the plate to your chest. So from the side, I'm pulling it against my chest, like all of our pin. It's not away here, or else you're not going to activate your back as much. And you're not going to have that like static hold. You're going to balance on one foot, bend the knee slightly, and it looks like you're flapping your arms, which you are, but what you're doing is you're squeezing your lats, your rhomboids, your trapezius, so you're just hitting all those muscles back there. Squeeze your back, scapula, just like that. So your elbows are out. We're not doing anything like pulling out, or we're not just flapping it for the look of it. What we're doing is really squeezing back there. Don't pinch. There's a difference between pinching and like really recruiting every muscle back there. And I feel like that takes a little bit of practice recruiting the muscles that it is that you want to use for whatever task it is. But it's really important that you kind of go slow, get a feel for it. I know that if I'm watching somebody who's got like a cut-off sleeve shirt on, they're doing pinned or chicken or rooster, I can see their muscles working as opposed to maybe someone right next to them who's doing the same tasks and the same movements, but they're not moving, and they may have the same like muscle definition. You can tell when they're activated. So what you'll do is you'll do 10 on one leg, Tarzan it down, 10 on the other leg down there, and that's Rooster.